Good morning. My name is Karen Kong and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to my This or That Thursday. So every week I try to post 2 cards in my Facebook group and on Instagram as well. And I ask my community to pick a card for me to make live on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern. And this week we are making this card. We had a very close vote. So most of you on Facebook voted for my other card. I'll show you that one. Which I love. I love the new Soft Waves embossing folder. And then I checked my Instagram and I can't believe how many people voted this week. So I had a very close call. It was like 7 votes to 6, so very, very close. So we are making this card and we're gonna get started. If you're joining me live, please say hi and tell me where you're watching from, and it's always nice to have somebody to chat with because it's no fun crafting by myself and talking to myself. So let me just get my computer up and running so I can see your comments while we craft, and then I'll switch my camera over to my desk. Good morning, Sandra. Thanks for joining me. I hope Tara can join in too today. Let's see. I'm just getting my whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I just made my, nope. I don't know why every week it's always a challenge trying to figure out which button it is I'm going to use to display the comments. I don't know why it's doing this. I don't see. No, all I'm doing is making it full screen, which is not what I want. Always technical issues. Actually, before I went live this morning, I was trying to get the screen to show landscape mode, and it wouldn't do it. And then I couldn't remember, because if you remember, there's been issues with Facebook streaming in a landscape mode, and so I found an app that actually forces it to switch to landscape. And then, so I use the app every single week now, and it's just running in the background, and I don't have to relaunch it. But then today it said it couldn't do it, and I couldn't remember the name of the app, so I had to scroll through all my apps looking for it, trying to remember which one it was that forces it to do my streaming in landscape. So I finally got that up and running, but now I don't know where. I'm looking at my my feed here, and it's trying to look at my page and trying to see how to display this. Oh, okay. I don't know. I had to go to a different page and click the same button, and now I've got it in the way I want it in. Okay, I'm good to go. Sorry for the delay. And if you're watching the replay, well, you can fast forward through all this. Okay, so let's move over to my desktop and we'll get started. Just close your eyes while I set this up. Okay, here we go. Just trying to see if it looks straight. Okay, so here we have everything. If you're watching for the first time, don't worry about writing down all the products, the colors, the measurements. I always post those in my video descriptions after the live, so you can come back and grab that later if you want to try making the card on your own. So just watch and enjoy, and I will give you the details later. So I used the Starstruck embossing folder, which was a Sale-A-Bration freebie in the early part of this year, and I'm using the birthday celebration stamp set, and we're using the Wildflower Birthday DSP, which I pulled this from. Okay, so let's make some room and we'll get started. This is an easy card to make. It's not, I think the trickiest part was putting the bow on, and I'll show you how I fiddle with that real time. That's why we call it reality crafting. When we go to put that piece on. So that's the last bit. But everything else is pretty easy. It's pretty much layering and just taking advantage of the die cuts that come in this Wildflower Specialty DSP, and just layering it and putting it on. It's not a hard card to make. Okay, so let's just get my paper trimmer over here. Hey Tara, I'm glad to see you got notified and you were able to join in. All right, so it's an easy card today. I know you guys, Sandra and Tara, are probably surprised because this is the card we're making, although on Facebook my votes were all for the other card. But on Instagram I had a whole bunch of votes come in that wanted this card made, so we are making this card today. But I'll post, you know, the picture of the other one and give you some details on the other card so that you can try it yourself if you want to make that one. Okay, so this is a standard card size. It's this is an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. I'm just going to cut it in half at 5.5 inches, and we'll score it at 4.25. Okay, let's put that aside. And we'll cut this piece here, which is the DSP, which I laid on top of it. I have a leftover piece that I cut to the correct width, but the length is should be 5.5. I'm just going to double check it. So this is a 4.25 by 5.5 sheet that I'm going to need. So let's just trim this down. Okay, so that's good. And then I have wild wheat. So for those of you who don't love wild wheat, I actually like it for mimicking kind of a gold texture or gold color. And I'll just let you know that I wanted to say at the beginning, I forgot, that I cased this card from Jamie Birksey. So she used actual gold metallic paper behind here to match the gold in the paper, but I find that wild wheat is a suitable alternative for gold. And her card is slightly different from mine. Like I said, I did case it, so it's the same idea, but I used like an embossed background, and she had a stamped background, and she used gold metallic paper, whereas I'm using wild wheat, and the cake die cut is different, but essentially the same idea and layout. So thank you, Jamie, for the inspiration. Okay, so this one is slightly wider, so I'm gonna have to cut this down to size. The wild wheat matting needs to be 3 1/8 by 4 5/8. So I'm gonna cut this to 4 5/8 first. Actually, 4 5/8. And 3 1/8. 3 1/8. Okay. And then I need a piece of Pretty in Pink, which is I'm just going to grab a piece of leftover. I have a lot of leftover pieces from making photo albums for this one class I did earlier this year. So let's see if we can use some of it up. So I need a 3 by 4.5 inch piece. Let me see if one of these leftover pieces will work. Let me just see if that's wide enough. Yeah, this is 3.5. Okay, let's use a section of this. So it needs to be 4.5 inches long. And 3 inches wide. All right. So that is all the cutting, I think. And what I'm going to do next is emboss my Pretty in Pink. So this is the Starstruck embossing. So let me bring over my cut and emboss machine. so the Starstruck embossing folder is not 3D, so I'm going to need some of my plates for this one. Alright. There we go. So if you ever forget what plates you need, the instructions are on the base plate here. I'm just going to put this in. Yeah, this folder, like, I always look at this, so I'm looking at Tara's comment, sorry. She says she hasn't used it yet. I always look at this pattern, and I always think it's like a flower, but then I realize there's a star in the middle. So then it changes kind of what I want to use it for. And I think it works for this one. It is cute. There you go. Alright, so let's assemble all the pieces and get them put together, and then we will do some stamping at the end. So I'm going to just get my card base. Kara's saying the folder can be used for flowers too. It is, like I said, every time I look at it, I always think it's flowers, but it's actually a star in the middle. Okay. Okay, let's flip this over, and I'm going to grab some glue. Sandra, you have a lot of stash to use now, and you know what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be using more and more of my stash. Like, I do always like to combine new stuff with old stuff that matches with it, and I'm going to be doing more and more of that because I did not buy anything new from the upcoming new annual catalog. Sometimes I guess it's just not being inspired by the whatever is there. I'm surprised, but I have lots of stash. Let's be honest, we all have lots of stash that we need to use. So I'm going to be focusing on using my stash in the next months that where I don't have anything new. Okay, so I just glued that on the front with the cakes. I think that's really cute. I'm going to glue this embossed piece onto the wild wheat. As you can see, I don't use a lot of glue. I like to just put it along the edges. Not right against the edge though, because I need room for the glue to kind of squish down and flatten, and you don't want that coming out the sides. So I put it close to the edge, but I leave enough room for it to spread underneath and not come out the sides. So this is only a 1/16 of an inch border, so I'm just adjusting it because it's very evident when you don't have much room to play with when it's not straight. Okay, that's good. All right, so I'm gonna glue this on here. You could also add another layer of height if you wanted to add like dimensionals behind here, but I am going to probably be sending this through the mail possibly. So when I'm sending it through the mail, like I will have height underneath the cake, and I'm going to put dimensionals underneath here, the sentiment as well. So I don't want it to be super high because I think it's going to get squished in the mail. So I'm going to glue this one flat. Yes, we have, I'm sure all of us have lots of DSP to use up, and I'm in the same boat, Sandra. I'm gonna have to wait till summertime to kind of get make some headway into using up some of my stash. I do have plans for the photo album that I made earlier this year, because I have 3 of them now. I have to complete them and then add the pictures and then finish embellishing once that's done. But I do have plans for them. I just have to find time, right? Okay, so I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of my cake. I'm just getting out my leftover here. See, I used the entire thing. So when you're using dimensionals, don't throw it away when you've got just the borders left, because you can use those as well. They're great for long edges that you want to prop up, and you can use the entire sheet. Don't waste any of it. I'm going to put some of the mini dimensionals into the smaller spots to prop them up. Yeah, that's a great idea to use it for Mother's Day. That's what I intended the album for, Tara. I'm actually going to save it for my mother's 80th birthday pictures. So I have, like, we have a family trip planned for August, and I'll make sure to get pictures from the trip to put in there. Okay, so I'm going to cut one of these minis in half because I think it'll stick out if I try to put it in whole. So let's just do that. Whoops, just lost it. Okay, so let's stick those on here. Great. I'm just going to peel off all the backings and then we'll stick it on. I have a lot of die, even though I've been using the die cuts for the albums and for cards, I still have lots of die cuts left from this DSP pack. Still lots to make from it. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to center this and put it down. All right, I'm going to stamp first and then we'll add the flowers afterwards. There's the flower die cuts that go there. I'll stamp first. So let's bring some paper over. I think this piece is big enough. I'm just grabbing scrap. I always keep all my white scrap. And this is Blueberry Bushel, which matches the blue in the DSP. Let's grab a block and the stamp. Okay. So I'm just going to put it down here, and then I like to pick it up with my block. All right. Okay, I'm just visually inspecting to make sure that there is ink on every part of the sentiment. I'm going to do it this way before I stamp with it. That looks good. I'm just going to clean my stamp. And close this up. So now this is, there's no die for this, so I fussy cut that. I know that thrills some of you. Yes, there is fussy cutting involved. Not too terrible. Okay, so I'm just going to trim this down to size so it's easier for me to hold while I'm fussy cutting. gonna get my scissors. I don't think I've managed to convince any of my friends that fussy cutting is relaxing, but it is. It's not too bad. But I always prefer a die cut over the fussy cut pieces because it's much faster and it's more consistent. And I think that I've seen a lot of people fussy cut this sentiment out, so I kind of wish there was a die for it. Yeah, if you're gonna fussy cut in front of the TV, it would have to be a show that you don't need to actually watch. You can just listen more. Maybe a movie that you've already seen. Oh, my finger's stuck there. Okay. So I think we're into spring now in Ottawa, even though today's kind of chilly. It's been really up and down. Just when you think like spring is here, it changes again, it snows, and the temperatures drop. But it's milder this week for sure, but still a little bit chilly with the wind. But most of the snow is gone from the ground, which is nice. There we go, all done. Yeah, I think this looks better when it's fussy cut instead of like if I were to cut out the rectangle, it would cover more of the cake and you wouldn't see so much of the cake, but this is good. Okay, so now let's go on with putting the gold thread behind here. So what I did is I put Stamp and Seal. You can use tear and tape and put a few strips of that, and that's just basically so you can hold down your gold thread. Okay, I'm gonna put 2 strips of it. Oh, I should have used my silicone mat. I have sticky stuff here. Okay, so I have the gold thread, which I love using. I don't use the silver as much, or maybe sometimes it just depends on what the paper has in it. Obviously, if it's got gold, I'm going to use gold. Okay, so I wanted to make 2 loops on behind my sentiment, and I'm going to tie them because that would make it like a knot, and it would just make it stand out from the paper more. So I'm going to just loop it, and Jamie does this really well. She's like got this down to a science, whereas I still struggle with this, so you're gonna have to bear with me. So I'm basically going to wind the cord, or the twine, I don't even know, this is not really twine, the gold cord behind here, and I'm sticking it down. And the good thing about this method is that you can undo it and redo it as needed, because you're just using some sticky tape and it's not glue. It doesn't get messy. I think what she does is that she actually twists it as she goes so that it will go in the curve that she wants it to go. But my problem is always trying to get it to enough room on the back to on the sticky stuff, finding the room to get it to stick. Okay, so then every time I do this, I always end up turning it over and seeing how if I like how it looks. So I will fiddle with this until I'm happy with it. So hopefully that's not going to be a long time today. So sometimes it's easier to work from the front, and I will just stick it along as I can as I go. And sometimes I just put it down and I'll work with it from the back, because then I can see where I'm trying to stick it to. I think I don't have enough sticky parts. I'm gonna have to put some more Stampin' Seals, but you know what I'm going to use this time is I'm going to use tear and tape. Yeah, this part, I mean, like, we finished that part, no problem. That was the easy part. It's sometimes funny that, you know, this part is the part that takes the longest. And I swear to you, I watched Jamie do it probably a dozen times. I don't think that it helps that the gold cord is thicker than like some of the ribbons or threads. So it makes it more challenging, but it does look so pretty when it's done. Okay, so I just added more sticky areas to the back of my sentiment. Yeah, the tear and tape always sticks better, so it's probably a better choice than the Stampin' Seal. I'm just wondering, am I doing this backwards? No, okay. Because I want it to be on this angle here, because there's some cutout sections here that I think look good when you have the gold peeking out. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oh, that looks better. Okay, I'm liking this more this time. I'm going to make it peek out more here. Okay, let's see how this looks. I think I'm okay with this. All right, let's make sure it sticks. And I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to twirl this, I'm going to twist it so that it faces the other way. What I'm going to try. There we go. Okay, so there it is, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put dimensionals on either side so that when it's stuck onto my cake, it doesn't bend, right? If I tried to stick it down using tape, these two sides would bend down around the bulk of the gold cord, and I just think it looks better when it's can lie flatter. So I'm going to put my dimensionals here. I'm trying not to put it on the gold cord so that I don't have like a bend in my paper when I attach it. Okay, so there we go. There's my tweezers. All right, there we go. So it looks slightly different, but that's okay. I'm just trying to remember my dimensionals are here and here, so I want to make sure it's on the cake so we don't end up with a dimensional half in the air. There we go. Just going to trim this little end here a little bit. Just some extra sticking out. Okay, great. So that is the majority of the card. So now I can go back to the easy stuff, and that's just adding some flowers to my cake to make it prettier. So I'm just going to use glue for this. So I'm just going to put a few dots of glue on. Don't need a lot. Okay. All right, so let's turn this around. I don't think there's an up or a down. You can choose whichever orientation you want, but this is the way I want this one. I'm just going to tuck it into the corner here. Oh, and I put my finger right into the glue for that one. Like I said, reality crafting. Can't help but put my finger into that. That's why I close up my ink pad so I don't ink myself. And we're going to put this one up here. There we go. And that is our card today. Pretty easy. I think, like I said, the hardest part was arranging the gold ribbon behind there, the gold cord, to make a faux kind of bow. So that is the card. Pretty easy. And all you need is the die cuts from the Wildflower Birthday DSP to make this, and a little bit of stamping, and that's it. Well, the embossing is another extra touch. So you don't have to emboss. You can leave it a flat pink, and that would be fine too. So have fun with the Wildflower DSP and making cards. I hope that inspires you to make a card this week, and I will be back next week. Everybody have a great weekend. It's going to be a long weekend for Easter here in Ontario, and we're going to have some quiet time and maybe see my son while he's in between exams. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.